So I have one general question about you, and then I just want to get right into the 9 billion names of God.
Okay.
So basically, just give us an idea of who you are. Like, where does your story start? When did you know that you wanted to be a filmmaker?
Oh, I knew I wanted to be a filmmaker when I was a child. Uh, I was lucky enough when I was maybe 7 or 8 years old that my father uh, gave me his camera and let me do some stuff with it. And I know he showed me how to edit with videotape at this time, and I had some fun, to select some scene on the video on the camescope. We say camescope on the camera,
Okay.
and then to put it on a VHS. How to edit in a very simple way.
Okay.
And I begin to edit my short film when I was 10 years old. It was just for fun,
Right.
but I really liked it. And few years later, when I have to choose what I want to do in my life, I was interested by two things: to be a pilot,
Okay.
um, because I really love it, and my mother used to work in plane. She was a hostess, and I travel a lot with her, and I really enjoyed to spend some times in the cabin of the pilots. It was very fun to. It was. They say it's the beautifulest office in the world, and I suppose it's true.
Yes.
It is the beautifulest. Um, but I was more interested by the place than to pilot, just to see the sky, So maybe I would be a bad pilot because I would look at the sky instead of looking at what's happening inside the plane.
Yes.
So so I decided to this difficult job to choose this difficult job of directing, and I don't have any regret. I love my job, and it was long and hard, but right now it's my job, so it's cool. It's cool. I'm happy.
That's
Yeah,
amazing. I'm happy for you. Did you go to film school?
yeah. I did a film school. Yeah, yeah,
Very nice.
for 3 years in France, and I lived a year in New York
Oh,
for a fourth optional year at my French school. It's Yes, we have to do this fourth year school in New York, and it was very fun to do. I
excellent.
love
So, I have a question? Do you ever desire to be in front of the camera instead of behind it?
to be in front of the camera. You mean to be an actor?
Yes, sir.
It's Yeah, but it's not the most interesting thing for me. I prefer to create. I really like to be behind the camera and choose the story I want to do. To choose to create, just to you can control everything. Um, the whole process of making a movie is for me more interesting than to be in front of the camera. It's two different things. In fact, you can compare it really. Um, I used to play in a theater, when you're at school, and I have a lot of fun with that, and it's an interesting moment for a director to go in front of the camera or in front of an audience to know what your actor can feel when he is in front of your camera. So it's an interesting things to do as an exercise, but as a job, no, it's not something that I'm very interesting to do.
Okay. All right. So, since you
I
mentioned,
hope I'm very clear because my English is not so well, and I hope you understand.
no, no, I understand. I understand perfectly. Um, so now I want to kind of transition into the 9 billion names of God. So
Yeah.
you mentioned that you love to create, and I only noticed the second time watching it in preparation for this interview that you also wrote it. So so tell me just how the 9 billion names of God, the short film adaptation of the Arthur C. Clarke story, went from an idea to reality. Like whose idea was it? Was it your idea?
Yeah, yeah. It was my idea when I read a book when I was in my cinema school. We have a very famous book in France called Le Matin des Magiciens. I don't have the name in English because it has a different name, but it was written by Louis Powells and Jacques Bergier.
Okay.
And it's a book about many things, strange things that could happen in real life. We don't know if it's true or not, but they talk about lost civilization like Atlantis. They talk about alchemy. They talk about flying objects, about UFO. They talk about all these subjects, and they talk also about the man of the future, who can be a mix between a very spiritual man who can do telepathy. They project in a crazy future in this book. And in the middle of this book, there is a short story of Arthur C. Clarke,
Okay.
The 9 Billion Names of God. And when I read it, for me, it was a very good summarize of all the idea of this book, Le Matin des Magiciens. And I really liked it because for me, it was a very smart, short story. With when you read it, you have a lot of question, not a lot of answer, and it stimulates your imagination. And I like when something stimulates my imagination.
Yes.
And I really like the end. I like everything in this story for sure. For me, when I read it, I feel like I was in a adventure film, sci-fi film, a spiritual film. There is all the ingredients that I like in a movie, and so I check on internet if someone make a film before that on this short story, and nobody did it, or maybe some people in an Indian school. I found something, but I was not able to see the film.
Yep.
And it took me 7 years to do it, from the idea to shoot the movie, because the first time I had the money to do it. It was a small budget, like 8,000 or 10,000 euros, you know.
Wow.
No more. So yeah, it was difficult to do it because the first time I wanted to make it, we lost the most important set, which was the Tibetan temple.
Okay.
And we had to stop the shooting 1 week before it has to begin. So I was very sad about it, and it was very difficult to find another Buddhist temple because most of the Buddhist temple were not didn't agree, you know, to allow us to shoot in their temple, because it's temple and it's a place to pray, but not to make movie. It's not a studio. So it
Yes.
was very difficult to have this authorization to shoot in a Tibetan temple, and so I decided to stop the idea of making this film. I go on other project, and a few years later, something crazy happens. A good friend of mine, who is a famous cellist in France, wanted to make a video music in the mountain. And suddenly I say, oh, in the mountain, I was thinking about the 9 billion name of God.
Yep.
And curiously, all the planets were aligned to do the 9 billion name of God at this moment.
Okay.
I found a temple, and the temple has Tibetan monks from Tibet. At the moment I asked them to shoot, it was really crazy, you know, and they were okay to be in the movie and to make a sand mandala in the film.
Yep.
Which was my dream years ago. So everything were aligned to make the film, and to get the money to do it, we make a crowdfunding on internet,
Okay.
and hundreds of people participated to finance the short film.
Where did you film it? Where is that monastery?
So this monastery is in Normandy, in French Normandy. So it's not in Tibet.
Okay. That's all right.
It's the west of France. and it's a lovely place called Vajradaraling. And the director is Lama Guillaume, which is a famous lama in France because he sing. He sing, and you can listen on Spotify to his beautiful chants. It's Tibetan sacred chants, song. Sorry, chants. Can we say chants?
Chants?
No, chants. Yeah, no, chants sacrés, sacred songs, sacred songs.
So wait, so you're saying the director of this temple has recordings of his songs that you can listen to, like on Spotify?
Yeah, on Spotify, yeah, and he's famous, and he's the monk who sing in the short film.
Oh, okay, I see.
Yeah. So yeah, we were very lucky at this moment to have 6 or 7 real monks from Tibet who were there when we were authorized to shoot the film in the temple. Because usually there is monks, but they are not from Tibet. You know, it's French monks,
Right.
so they don't look as Tibetan. And I was very very lucky to shoot with them.
So I have a question, especially since you mentioned the celloist.
Yeah.
Tell me, I mean, you sort of mentioned it already, but like, how did he get involved? And not only that, but since you also mentioned where you filmed, how did you get that opening shot of the slow pan, like through the clouds into the temple with that beautiful music behind it? Like, is that a CGI shot or is that a real shot?
It's both.
Okay. How you film that?
We shot this in Switzerland, and there was really clouds on the side.
Okay.
This is a true picture, but it was during the day. So we work American. We call that American night in France. I don't know if you have the same expression. American night means it's not a real night, but suddenly we color grading in blue.
Okay.
And you have you feel it's night, but it's not a real night who is shooting. You can do it during the day.
It's very convincing.
And the CGI is the temple and the stars. That's it.
Wow. Okay. It's a beautiful shot.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it was with the drone, you know, and we were very lucky to have this beautiful cloud on the side.
Yeah.
And this is not, the cloud are not CGI.
Okay. It's probably the most impressive part of the shot is the cloud. So that's pretty awesome. That's not CGI. And so did you know the celloist?
Yeah, because it was the first time we make a music video together. His name is Gauthier Capuçon. Okay. He's a good friend, and at this moment we made a music video on the Swan by Camille Saint-Saëns. It's a classical French compositor, and Gauthier was releasing a new album and need a music video for the promotion. And he had this dream to make. There was a very famous cellist in France called Maurice Baquet, and who was the first cellist to play in top of the mountain at the beginning of the 21st century, sorry.
Okay.
And Gauthier wanted to it was an homage. I don't know how you say an homage.
Homage, we have that word.
Okay, you have that word. Okay, so it was an homage for Maurice Baquet to play his Camille Saint-Saëns in top of the mountain.
Okay. And was he excited?
And he play also on the soundtrack of the short film.
Was he excited to be involved? Was he familiar with the project or with the story at all, or was he just excited to play music?
He liked the project. That's why he accepted to, because he is very famous also in the world, but most famous in France. He is one of the top cellists in the world, and he was very excited, and also to collaborate with Mark Yeager, who makes the soundtrack, who is an American composer.
Oh, okay.
And we work all together, and it was an awesome experience. I was very lucky to work with this guy, because music for me is so important in the movie, really, and especially in the 9 Billion Names of God, because you have it helps you to feel the mystery, energy, and adventure that you feel when you read the short story.
Yes.
It's very important, and I was very lucky to work with both of them, because they really understand the idea of sacred, spiritual adventure mystery film that I wanted to do.
Yes, I think it all comes together very nicely. Both the soundtrack, the cello solos, with the cinematography and the story, as you said in the background, I think it works so well. Um, was
Thank
there
you.
was there ever a time in adapting the story and writing it? Because the short film is very, it's almost perfectly literal from the story. Was there
Of
ever
course.
a time? Was there ever a time when you wanted to deviate, or was your intention always to just have like this gorgeous visual and audio version of the short story?
Uh, I wanted to be very close of the Arthur C. Clarke short story.
Okay.
It was not, for me, it was impossible to say, oh, I'm going to rewrite Arthur C. Clarke. You don't rewrite Arthur C. Clarke. So the only thing I did, the only liberty I take, is to cut a bit of his text, because it was too literal.
Okay.
Too much explication, too much information, and I decided to show it by picture, or just cut some few dialogues. But I try to be as close as I can as the original story. It was very important for me.
That's amazing. That's perfect. And that's exactly what I like to hear. I like, this is a podcast about Arthur C. Clarke. I love that you just said you can't rewrite Arthur C. Clarke. So
No, you can't.
that rings very true to me. I have like a small detail question.
Yeah.
And it's a little nitpicky, but why did you have the story take place in 1957?
Oh, so I don't remember in the story. I think it's 90. I don't remember if he gives a date.
Right. Yeah, it doesn't.
It was written in 1953, I think. So 9 Billion Name of God. That's why I put in this time, in 1957. But there is no real reason.
Okay.
It could be 1954
Yeah, I was just
or
curious.
1955. First, I was thinking to put 1953 because I think it's the time it was written.
Right.
And I put 1957 because at the end, finish with a 7. I like the 7.
Okay. I dig it. So another nitpicky question, and maybe it's this, the answer is obvious, but why is the film in English?
It was very important for me because it's the language of Arthur C. Clarke, first.
Yes.
And second, I have another project of a feature film, which happened in New Mexico in 1948. And I wanted to show to some producers that I was able to direct some actors in English. It's
Okay.
short film can also be, the way you can show to producers that what you can do.
Right.
So it's obvious that a French director can direct some French actors, but not especially English actors.
Yes, sir.
And I was interested also to show it in an international way.
Right.
And with that, we were very lucky. We showed the film in a lot of American festival, UK festival, all around the world. People can see it and be the name of God. So it's more universal English language.
Yes. Okay. I mean, I kind of figured that, but so I have to assume that since you made the film, there must be interest from producers to let you direct or to maybe let you have more freedom in directing whatever you want to direct, right? I mean, because the film won plenty of awards and it was shown at many film festivals. So, like, has the response been positive?
Yeah, the response was positive, but now they are waiting for me to finish my screenplay. And after this short film, I direct 3 documentaries. And right now, I'm looking on I'm sorry, I'm working on finishing a screenplay. So we'll see what's happened next. Maybe I will make a last. I don't know. Maybe I'm still thinking to make a new documentary about UFO because actually there is many new information about it. I feel like something is happening, and I would like to be there to shoot and to capture these moments. I know that in USA many things are happening right now, and
Yeah.
in June your Senate will release a UFO UAP report because the Pentagon created a task force in August 2020,
Yes.
and there is released a report about it. So I'm very curious to know what is going to be released in June in US, and maybe we'll make a documentary about it. And we have things in France too. For instance, our historical service of the defense in France just released recently UFO reports from 1954 until 1980s. It's really new, and I would like to go to this place and to see the report, the witnesses, the fights, the report. I'm not sure.
So
Report,
this
yes.
wait, so this is in France? This is something released by the French government?
Yeah, yeah. It's pretty new. It just released a few days ago, and it's official. And but curiously, nobody talks about it in the French news. We're
What
all obsessed with COVID all day.
right, right. Well, when there's no COVID, what does the French news usually talk about?
Um, Same as in US, the most terrible things in the world,
Yeah, politics.
politics and catastrophe and incidents and terrorism and wars.
So I it, I do want to talk about UFOs, but I have one more question that I really want to ask about 9 billion.
Yeah.
God. Um, I just want to know whose idea was it and how did the idea come about for the ending? So the obviously you and I both know as fans of the short story that the ending, the final line of the story is the best part. It's basically the punchline. It's the moment that makes the story so amazing, at least in my opinion.
Yeah.
So, and in your version, I mean, that line is very much intended for print, not for audio or visual. So in your version, you very smartly, in my opinion, and creatively added the pattering sound effect of the computer printing out the names
Mm,
to go along
you
with the disappearing of the stars. So, like, whose idea was that? How did it come about?
I'm very glad you catch this important detail.
I
Thank you
love it.
very much for asking me this.
You're welcome.
And this is the genius idea of my sound engineer called Sami Bardet.
Excellent.
He is a very good, an amazing guy. And the first time he showed me the mix of, he makes me hear, I hear the mix, the work he did.
Yep.
He told me, you will have the surprise at the end, and it was a very good surprise to hear that he used the sound of the computer when the stars disappears because it helps you to understand that there is a link between both
Yes.
in a subtle way because it's the noise of the computer is very discreet. It is very subtle.
Okay, so when he showed you that final shot, you
Yeah,
didn't know that the patterning was going to be there, and then you just saw it and heard it.
yeah,
That's amazing.
yeah.
That's so cool. I mean, and it's also just proof of like how much filmmaking is collaborative.
Exactly. That's what I wanted to say. It's a real collaborative work, and I was very very lucky to work with great talent. And I want to say thank you to all my team today again. I say many times thank you, but they were very nice because most of them work for free. In fact,
Wow.
because we had a so very low budget, but they believe in the project and they did it for the love of making film. Really,
Yes.
um, and that's what's happened most of time with short film. Most of short film don't have any budget, so you have to
Improv.
find a story who doesn't need a lot of money, or to find a charming team who is ready to work with you. There is, yeah.
Yes. So I just want to linger on this real quick. So what I love about how you put the noise of the printer over the stars
Mhm.
going on is because it's also like a literal translation of what's actually happening. So the patterning, the printing of the names is what is destroying basically the whole universe. So it's literal, but at the same time, something
Mm.
that we brought up in our
But it's
discussion.
interesting for you. It's a destroying of the universe. I'm not sure about it,
Uh-huh.
because I'm not sure that it's for me. It's an opening. This end is the thing who led you the most to what could it be. I like to think that it's not the end. For me, it's maybe a beginning of something else.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting. So when you read the story, you don't see the ending as kind of like lights out on the universe. You see it as maybe a transition into something else.
Exactly.
Interesting. See,
Yeah.
maybe I'm a little more of a nihilist, and I personally, I don't know. I see it as, I don't know, lights out on the universe. But other interpretations are cool as well, obviously.
It's
Um,
it's it's not. I'm not sure about it, but I think he doesn't give us any answer. It just finished, when all the stars disappear silently in the sky,
yes.
and it finished like this. Um, I'm very interesting about what means the word apocalypse. Apocalypse.
Apocalypse.
Apocalypse. Yeah, it means to leave a veil, to reveal. In fact, it means revelation. Apocalypse
Okay.
doesn't mean the end of everything. It means you can see something you never see before.
Okay. I see. So you're saying a veil is lifted?
Exactly, a veil is lifted.
Okay.
That's what I want you to say.
No, no, that's
Thank you.
perfect. No, that's fine.
Yeah,
No, this is interesting. I mean, and then this is what I love about Clark is that I mean he's not the only author that does this, but I mean when you read Clark, when two people read Arthur C. Clarke, especially a short story that, as you
yeah,
mentioned, it's so open ended. Like you can have all kinds of ideas of what it means. I mean,
exactly.
he's so good with the hard sci-fi, but also with the philosophy at the exact same time, which is what's so amazing.
Yeah, and for me it was very interesting the meeting of the monk spirituality and the technology of the Westerners. It's something absolutely amazing that he did in this short story.
Yes.
It's and there is a lot of so many questions. There much more questions than answer in this short story, and this is
So
so exciting. Yeah,
So let me ask you about the shots. I really liked the shots too, where you had the sand on the table,
yeah,
and the monks would draw their finger across and in the different angles.
yeah.
Tell me, do you have any like insight or stories behind that idea? I thought that was so beautiful, like visually, and then what it means. Like, do you have any like
Yeah, it means
insight on that?
it's yeah, it's a mandala of sand, a sand mandala,
Okay.
and they work on it for during 4 or 5 days to make it. And at the end of the 4 or 5 days, they destroy it, and they put the sand in a pot, and they're going to throw the sand in a river.
Okay.
And this is the idea that nothing is permanent, all is impermanent. And for me, it was a good metaphor about the whole story of the 9 billion names of God.
Yes.
That's why I decided to add this thing, who is not in the original story of Arthur C. Clarke. But for me, it was not to. I don't feel I changed something in the story. You know, I just show the monks doing the monk stuff in the temple.
Yeah.
And it was a perfect metaphor of the whole story for me.
I agree. Yeah, I thought that shot, although not necessarily in the book, I thought it fit perfectly. I thought it was great.
Yeah, thank you.
I think Clark would like it. Do you think Clark would like your adaptation? Have you ever thought about that?
I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so. Well, but the most important thing for me is many Arthur C. Clarke fans told me that they really liked the short film because it was, for them, it was very close of the spirit of the original short story of Arthur C. Clarke. And for me, it was very important to be very close of the short story, to
Yeah.
not change stuff and respect his work, because I have a great respect for him.
Yeah. So, are there any other stories by him that you have thought about adapting?
Oh yeah, but you need to have Hollywood behind.
Yeah. Well, what
I
about?
knew, for instance, Rendezvous with Rama.
I was just gonna say that.
I knew that Morgan Freeman gets the rights, and they tried to do it 10 years ago, but the film was never made. So we'll see. Maybe in the future.
So, did you have to get rights? Like, how did what
Yeah, I had to get the rights. Yeah.
from who?
I from Arthur C. Clarke, even he is dead, I still a literary agent.
Okay.
So I had to pay some fee to make the short film. Yeah.
Did they like go through your ideas and your script before they said yes?
No,
Okay.
no, no, no. No,
Just
no. It was just important for me that I say that it was an adaptation of Arthur C. Clarke, and but they don't ask me anything about artistic or I, yeah, yeah.
okay. So, I know that I want to respect your time. So, I want to maybe touch on flying objects just for a few minutes at the end here. Is that
Yeah,
cool?
yeah. Perfect.
Because I mean, at least for an English speaking audience, I would assume that is the most recent thing you've done that is accessible, right?
Yes,
Okay.
yes,
Okay. So, and also because you mentioned Rendezvous with Rama, which I was thinking would be such a cool
yeah.
story for you to
Moi,
adapt.
moi. You're singing about who, moi, moi.
Yeah. Well, okay. Exactly. Because I watched that
Yeah.
movie. Dude, yeah, you're reading my mind. So, like that that object, anyone who's read Rendezvous with Rama instantly thinks of Rama when they hear about that news story from a few years ago. Is that what you thought of?
Yeah, I immediately thought about the Arthur C. Clarke story when I heard about who, moi, moi too. And I talk about that with Avilov because he knew the story too. He likes sci-fi.
Yeah.
Harvard chairman of astronomy, and I immediately think about that.
Yeah, me too. So, well, do you, well, it seems like, you must be personally very interested in UFOs, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Are you more interested in UFOs, science fiction, or real life space flight?
But to be honest, both. But sci-fi and UFO are more interesting for me because there is a idea of everything is possible.
Okay.
And I have the strong feeling that we are the beginning of space exploration.
True.
We have prehistoric technology, I think.
Hmm.
It's just the beginning. we have an astronaut in France called Jean-François Clairvoy. He just say he compares ocean and space, and he say we are still in Le Port, in the marina. He say we are still in the marina with our rocket. You know, we are very close to the Earth, and the ocean is waiting for us, but we are still in the marina.
Okay.
And it's a very good picture because the universe is so big. I can't imagine that there is no life out there. It's impossible for me to. It's so huge. It's full of mystery. So I'm very excited about everything is about the universe. Yeah.
Yeah. So actually, I love that metaphor that you just shared. So it's like, I feel like, okay, we're in the marina now. It's like once we fully explore the solar system, I feel like you're out a little further, but you're still able to see the shore. But then,
yeah, but you're still in the marina in the solar system, I think. You know.
Think so? Oh, okay.
Yeah. You just maybe discover an area of your country.
Yeah. Okay. I got you. No, I see what you're saying. Okay. Do you have a UFO story? Have you personally had a UFO experience?
I think yes. Few times. I like to watch at the sky, and I see few times strange things in the sky. But also, if I saw interesting things, I have a rational mind.
Okay.
So I'm open to say, okay, maybe it was a UFO, but maybe my brain just interpret something natural, like no, I know what is a meteor or stuff like this because I know astronomy, but it can be many other phenomena than real UFO. You know what I mean? And UFO, we don't know what is it. It's you identify flying object. It's
Right.
not necessarily something from aliens.
Yes.
And now I really like the new words, the official words of the military and the scientists, who is UAP, unidentified aerial phenomenon. And phenomenon is much more wide, and it can be different phenomenon, not only objects.
Right. Like lights.
Yeah, light, energy, plasma. There is many things that we don't know, and maybe the science will discover it rich one day, and we will have explanation about it. But
Yeah.
maybe it's alien too. We don't have to close the door. We don't know. We just don't know.
True. I think when it comes to all things, and certainly UFOs as well, just in general, open-mindedness is key. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
I mean,
Exactly.
and I think especially Clark, and actually for the podcast, for the Space Dreamers podcast, I'm reading every Arthur C. Clarke book in order. I've already read them, but I'm doing it over again and then discussing the books. And one of them that I'm reading right now is called The City and the Stars. And there's a whole paragraph about just humans basically inability to have a completely open mind, like throughout history. Like there's never been a civilization that's just completely open-minded. That everyone at some point, some civilization, or typically religion, has to make the claim that they have the answers, right?
Yeah.
So I just find that very interesting. When it comes to UFOs, I feel like people either say, "Oh, they're definitely real. There's definitely aliens," or "There's no way. That's just the light, the atmosphere playing tricks on your eyes or your imagination."
Exactly.
When really it's somewhere in the middle.
It's difficult to find some people in the middle,
True.
but there is some of them. I don't know if you know Jacques Vallée. He's a French scientist, but he lives in San Francisco since the 60s. And
Okay.
he was he inspired Steven Spielberg for the Close Encounters of Third-Kind.
Yes.
There
Yes.
is a scientist in Close Encounters, and it's based on Jacques Vallée life. So Spielberg meet Jacques Vallée, And Jacques Vallée is like this. He's very open-minded. He say science should definitely study UFO. There is a lot of things to study UFO. There is a lot of material, and there has to be open-minded. And he doesn't understand why some scientists just reject the subject.
Yeah.
But he doesn't say it's absolutely extraterrestrial. He has other interesting theory, like maybe something from another dimension. But even when he says that, he say it's a theory. He's just open-minded, and it's very interesting because when you see his curriculum vitae, his CV, it's very interesting because he used to work for NASA. He was at the beginning of internet, which called ARPANET, and now he's working with Silicon Valley in very interesting program, and he's an interesting guy, and he worked also with Robert Bigelow, who was the contractor of 80 programs, a UFO secret program in US.
You know, that gentleman, the Bigelow, was the most, probably for me personally, the most interesting part of Flying Objects, a State Secret. Because that it says in the documentary that he's like a private individual, right? He's not working for a government.
He's not working for what? Sorry?
Any government, correct?
No, he's an individual,
right?
Who makes some money with hotels. He created the best suite hotel in USA,
okay.
And he became a billionaire. And 10 years ago, or maybe more, about 10 years ago, he created Bigelow Aerospace, and he became the contractor of the Pentagon on the study of UFO.
Yes.
So he worked with the Pentagon. He worked with intelligence on this subject.
Okay.
His company was allowed to study the HC program. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty. That I found that person, for me personally, was the most interesting, I guess, aspect of the documentary Flying Objects, a State Secret. And so I guess we can finish up. I just wanted to say, first of all, huge thank you to you for doing this with me. And a huge
thank you very much. It was a pleasure.
Yeah. And just a huge thank you for making the movie. You know, like there's so few Clark adaptations out there that I love that you made one, and it's of a very high quality and clearly made by a fan for Clark fans.
Well, thank you so much. It goes directly to my heart, and I'm very glad you like it. And thank you for inviting me.
Yes, sir. Actually, okay, one more question. Super cool question. And then I promise we'll stop.
Yes.
Okay.
It's okay. It's okay.
Okay. I noticed, well, I wrote this question down, but obviously I'm sure that I know the answer now. I noticed that Flying Objects, a State Secret opens with a Clark quote, and I would assume that was your idea.
Yes, of course. Totally. It's one of the trio of Clarks.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, of course. Of course.
I mean, I figured that it was you since we had a conversation. Now I know that you're a fan. And I noticed too that your film was shown in the Boston Science Fiction Film Festival.
Yes, it was shown there. Yeah.
Were you present for that?
No, I would love to, but I could at this time I was in France and couldn't travel.
Oh,
but okay. I went in another place in Sedona Film Festival, and we get a prize there. We get the best adaptation of a book in Sedona Film Festival, and it was very. It's a beautiful city. I don't know if you know Sedona. If you haven't been there, it's in Arizona.
I've never been. No.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. And also, some people say that it's a UFO hotspot. I was very glad to be invited to Sedona.
Yeah, that area of the country is apparently a hot spot.
Yeah,
like New Mexico,
and beautiful.
Yeah,
exactly.
Okay, sir. Well, last time, thank you so much, and I'll let you know when this goes live.
Yes, And please send me the other podcast. I will listen to it. If it's about Arthur C. Clarke, I will work on my English with your podcast.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'll try to teach you some words while I podcast.
Okay. Okay.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Yes. Have a good night.
Have a good night. Thank you. Have a good day. Have a good day.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Bye bye.
All right. Bye-bye.